moon.
What?
We said it at the same time.
No, I said hello.
Well, I know.
We have some exciting news.
We do?
Well, it's not exciting news, but, I guess no one's watching it. Maybe we should wait.
Wait for what? For the song? For the song?
Yeah.
For a special song?
Yep.
I should have texted him and told him we were going live.
We'll do it now.
It's too late.
We've got time.
It's too late. We'll just play it. He can watch it later.
Okay.
It's fine. It's fine. Meanwhile, my glasses are like...
That's a really good look. I'm glad that you saved that for the video.
Save that gem. So I'm going to start saying every time there's something ridiculous that happens.
Yeah?
Save it for the Facebook Live.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to play the song, though.
Okay. You're getting really into it.
I'm excited today.
Your parents must be so proud.
9 years of college.
To teach you that.
Happy birthday, Rich Hogan, Kelly's dad.
Happy birthday! I hope you're the one viewer that's watching so that...
It's probably not. It's probably Lindsay.
Yeah, probably.
So yeah, it's my dad's birthday. What are they doing? Oh, I don't know. Oh, she's closing the door. We're being too loud. It's a secret. So yeah, it's my papa's birthday today. So if you see him, say hi or comment below. He would love it.
Wish him a happy birthday.
Happy birthday. He's
Rich Hogan, Kelly's dad.
2084.
2084.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because
That's
if
how
I'm
many years old he
1,000,
is.
if I'm
Now you're
1,000,
1,000? Last time I heard you were around 300. And
I
something.
got way older all of a sudden.
You did. You look it too.
It's been a rough few weeks, I guess.
The sun is so bright today. It's like hurting my eyeballs.
I'm glad you put that cover up there.
Well, it doesn't really cover all of it, but I can't get that portion of it.
That's okay.
So
That's all right. So today, we're going to talk about Addison's disease. And Crystal said, don't ask me anything because I don't know anything.
Yeah. I don't like when she makes me look extra stupid on the Facebook Live. I do it enough myself.
You know things. You just don't
I don't
know
know.
that you
Yeah.
know things. So, last week, we talked about Cushing's disease.
Mm-hmm.
This week, we're going to talk about Addison's, which is the opposite. So, and I threw away my super awesome artwork.
I don't know why you didn't frame it and hang it up in your house.
So I can't refer back to it again, which is really sad. But if you want to see my super cool artwork,
Go to last week's video.
I'm basically Van Gogh. Go to last week's video. So Cushing's disease was too much cortisol. Addison's disease is not enough. So when we talked about it last week, we said the body needs cortisol, which is its own steroid hormone that it produces. It needs that to deal with things like stress and that. So when we don't have enough, we can have some really serious issues. So Addison's disease, that's kind of like half of it, is the lack of cortisol. There's another half. So I was kind of fibbing to start. So the adrenal gland produces some other hormones as well. One of the other hormones that it produces is aldosterone. Do you remember that?
I remember the name. I didn't remember what you were getting at.
Do you remember what it does? What it's responsible for? You don't have to know the exact thing that it does, but...
No.
Okay, that's all right.
It's been years.
It's
like
been a long
many,
time.
many years. Like at least 100 years.
At least 100
If you're
years.
1,000.
You're like 204.
Yeah, so it's been at least 100
Mhm.
years.
So the adrenal gland produces cortisol. It also produces aldosterone.
Is it something to do with growth?
No.
No. Okay.
That's just growth hormone.
Oh.
Yeah, whatever.
All the hormones.
All those hormones. Lots of hormones. Aldosterone is responsible for electrolyte balance in the
That
body,
makes sense.
specifically sodium and potassium. So when we lack aldosterone, what we'll see is an elevated potassium and a low sodium. That's bad. Okay?
Okay.
So if you have too much potassium, do you know what organ, like what the big one is that we care about if we have too much potassium?
The liver.
Am I putting you on the spot?
Yes.
It's higher up.
Oh, the heart.
The heart. Yeah, so we can
God,
get.
I'm so smart.
You are so. See, you know so many things. So we can get abnormalities with the heart. So we can have heart trouble because of either too much or too little potassium. So if you have too much, that's not good. So it's in Addison's. There's kind of two different kinds. So the most common one that we see affects both cortisol and aldosterone. It's a lack of both. But there is a type called atypical Addison's, which is just a deficiency of cortisol. And their aldosterone is absolutely fine. So that one's way harder to diagnose because one of the clues that we usually see on blood work that we may be dealing with Addison's is an abnormal sodium and potassium level.
You should have asked me that one. I would have gotten that.
I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
ruined it.
You did.
Ruined it.
I'm
So Addison's is a tricky disease. It's also known as the Great Pretender because there's so many signs and symptoms that it can cause. It's really, especially the atypical kind, it's really hard to get to a diagnosis. But like I said, normal, typical Addison's, usually if we're running blood work, we can see those electrolyte abnormalities, and that's usually one of our first big clues. That there's something going on there, and there's a certain ratio of those numbers of the sodium number to the potassium number. If they're below a certain ratio, that's something that might lead us to looking a little bit more in depth into what's going on. So usually the first thing that we'll do when we see those numbers is we'll run a resting cortisol. Do you know what that means? Don't overthink it.
Just like without any medications
Yeah.
or drugs?
Yeah. We're just running just a straight cortisol level. We don't give them anything. We don't do anything beforehand. We just draw a blood sample, send it off, say, what's the cortisol level? If it is less than 2, that's a sign that they probably have Addison's, and then we go on to some more advanced testing, like an ACTH stimulation test. If it's over 2, it usually means that it's probably not Addison's. So then we ruled it out. And then, like 75% of the time that we run that test, it's like right at 2, which is super fun and frustrating. That's just how that goes. So that's what we're looking for there. I'm trying to rule it in or rule it out. So 2 or less, I'd say still ruled in. It's not a for sure diagnosis yet, just based on that resting cortisol. But it tells us that we need to look a little bit further. So it's all, kind of like Cushing's. It's kind of like a stepwise approach where, we do the general blood work and that shows us something. And so then we do the next test and we're saying, okay, before we get into like a $400 test, let's run this like $80 test and see if it's even necessary. Because the ACTH stimulation test, it's expensive. It's time consuming as well. It takes a couple hours to run, the multiple blood samples again that we're drawing. So that's what we typically do. So let's talk about treatment. Let's say we've diagnosed it. What is the treatment?
We do an injection of a medication called Procortin.
What does that do? You don't have to get real specific. But what is it for? What is it to correct?
The electrolyte
Yeah.
imbalance.
Yeah, exactly. So you knew.
I was just,
You made a face like you were like, why are you asking this?
I mean, yeah, I don't know what it does beyond helping the electrolyte balance.
Yeah.
And then steroids.
It kind of basically is acting as though, it's aldosterone. So it's kind of trying to correct that deficiency. And then we typically will do some kind of steroid hormone as well. When we see a patient that's in what we call an Addisonian crisis, so that is where they probably had Addison's for a while, but like I said, it's Great Pretender. You don't see a whole lot of real specific signs or symptoms, so it's like you don't usually notice until they get really sick from it. So in those cases, what we'll do while we're trying to work them up for it and do those tests and everything, because it takes some time for those tests to not only be run but get the results back for them, we'll do a dose of dexamethasone, which is a short-acting steroid hormone that's an injection. So it helps to correct the steroid deficiency, which is really where a lot of the big problems come from. But it also doesn't interfere with our testing. Versus if we like suck them on prednisone pills, that would actually mess up the test results if we did that before we did the blood draws. So that's not good. So we do dexamethasone, try to correct the cortisol deficiency, and then start, looking into the further testing. So in long term, we're looking at doing Percortin. There's another brand out now called Zycortal. I think they're both stupid expensive. It's ridiculous. I think it's like $200 and something for a bottle of it. It's crazy. It's really crazy. We had a Great Dane before that had Addison's, and that, I mean, he was a big dog. I mean, he was probably like 180 pounds or something. It was crazy. He was a big man. But he took an entire vial every month. So
I couldn't do
the Percortin or Zycortal, easy for me to say, injections are done typically monthly. Sometimes we can space them out a little bit longer. We kind of base that on rechecking their electrolyte values and seeing how long we can go before they like get out of whack again. But they're pricey, and it's every month. But the nice thing is, it typically works really well. It is only once a month instead of having to do something every day. But there's another medication that's available in pill form called Florinef. It'll correct both the steroid deficiency and the aldosterone deficiency on one pill.
I haven't heard of that one.
It's not cheap. I think it's cheaper than doing the Percortin, but it also doesn't always work as well. So that's why it's typically preferred to do the Percortin, but sometimes for various reasons we may not do that. So Florinef is also a possibility, and again, we typically will recheck their electrolyte levels, trying to figure out what the correct dose is for that. Sometimes they also need steroids be given on top of that, or sometimes the Florinef by itself is fine. In a case where they have atypical Addison's, so it's just a cortisol deficiency, we get by with just doing prednisone, and that's it. So that's not too bad, although I saw the one case of that I have seen, he became full Addison's like within a month. Poor little guy. They're like, yay, it's atypical, we can just get by with just doing the pred, and we did that. But they can then go on to having full Addison's. And so, it was like a month, and then he had to go on for Percortin. Poor little guy.
That sucks.
Yeah. But we were staying on top of things, so we caught it quickly. We knew that was a possibility. So he never like got sick from it. It was just like, oh, surprise. Now you have to have both.
But this is another reason why we like to do yearly blood work on your pet.
Yes.
It's not just when they're sick we want to check blood. We want to check it ideally once a year to see, where their normal is, when they're happy, healthy, all of that, or to catch things early on. So it's like an early detection blood work panel.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see trends of things like, oh, hey, guess what? Maybe these numbers are technically normal, but they're trending up or down, and that tells us something as well. When they're consistently, over the course of a couple of years, it's like, maybe we need to, keep a closer eye on those kidney values because they're trending upwards. Or maybe we should do a little bit more looking and make sure that we don't have an early case of something before they're sick. Because obviously it's better to treat them before they're sick than wait till you have to go to the ER.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the gist of Addison. Like, it's not a really fun one to talk about because, like, the signs and symptoms, it's like, oh, vomiting, diarrhea, lethargy. Like, it's not anything specific.
It's not like we get that phone call and we're like, oh, they've got Addison.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not really as specific as even Cushing's is. Even though Cushing's affects a lot of parts of the body, there's still like a typical like picture of a Cushing's patient, whereas Addison's is like could be anything. So yeah, so it's not a fun one to talk about, unfortunately.
No.
And especially not without going into like a whole lot of detail of like the different layers of the adrenal gland and the feedback loops and things.
Go ahead.
No,
I'm sure they
no, we're not gonna get into that. That's craziness. But yeah, do you have anything else for Addison's?
Mm-mm.
That was pretty quick and dirty run through.
Quick and dirty.
Quick and dirty.
It's even better when you say it like that.
And I know you want to say it like your mom.
Like your mom.
It's okay. I don't think that's terribly inappropriate. It's fine. Hi, Mom.
My mom is so proud of me too.
I know. I was gonna ask you something, and now I forgot.
It's even better when Brantley says something to me and I'm like, your mom. I'm like, wait, that's me. It's still funny though.
It's still funny. I know. I say it to my brother all the time too. Well, your mom or your mom's face. He's like, we have the same mom. It doesn't matter. It's still funny.
It's so funny.
At least
What were
it
you
is to
going to
me.
ask me?
I don't know.
Was it something personal or was it about Addison?
No, I don't think it was about Addison's. I'm bored of Addison's now.
Me too. I've been bored of it.
I don't know. I'll think of it after we
Was
turn
it about
around.
my house?
Sure.
About my children?
Sure.
About my dog children?
Let's talk about your house.
Okay. What about my
Tell
house?
me about your house.
It's coming together.
Good.
It's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
A few more weeks, maybe.
Mhm.
Maybe.
Good deal.
I have floors now. So that's super exciting.
That is. And cabinets.
And cabinets. The cabinets are
Mhm.
in and in place.
Mhm.
So
See?
moving on up in the world.
Moving on up in the world.
Yeah, hopefully I'll have doors on our bedrooms. My
Wow.
husband's been really cranky about that one, not having doors on the bedroom. And my youngest, he doesn't like to fall asleep, if he can see outside of his room, because then he's like, oh, there's a big world out there. Why am I not out there?
There's so many fun things going on that he's not part of.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
And so we just have a door propped up in front of his room
Yeah.
when he goes to sleep. But sometimes you don't get it propped up right. And just as he lays down to go to sleep, the door falls over and hits a bunch of things, and then he's screaming again.
Super fun.
Uh-huh.
Yay!
But soon.
Yeah.
Soon.
It'll all be worth it.
Yes, it will.
In the end.
It's going to be great.
All right. Well, that's everything that I have today then.
What other thing did you have to ask
I
me?
don't know. I'll think of it later.
You know I like talking about myself.
I do. I do know that. No, it's gone. It's too late. It's gone. I'm
Because
sorry.
you're 1,000.
Yeah, that's what happens when you're 1,000 years old. You forget things.
Mm-hmm.
You forget things. So, oh well. Maybe next time. I'll save it for the next video.
Okay.
Save that gem for the Facebook Live.
Was it about giving my husband money for his birthday?
No.
How many of you people think that that's okay? Because that's what he wanted. It is weird. It's not something that I would want personally as a gift, but he's so picky to buy for that and all the things that he wants are expensive. Because
Did you
usually,
at least make it rain?
No, this is what happened. Okay, are you ready?
Okay.
So he always wants cash,
Mm-hmm.
and everything that he wants is too expensive for me to just buy as a present.
Right.
So
Sure.
I was looking. His dad gave us each $50 for Christmas, which was very generous. And I was looking for the envelope with the money in it the other day. I knew I had taken it out of the car and into the house, but with everything a disaster in my house, I wasn't quite sure where it was.
Right.
So I'm looking for it.
Construction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking for it, and I'm like, I don't know where it is. And so the next morning, I asked him if he knew where it was, and he didn't. He's like, I think it's still in the car. I'm like, well, I know it's not. So he wakes up in the morning, and I had set out a cake for him, German chocolate, it's his favorite. So the first year that I've bought him a cake, set it out on the counter, and I said, by the way, whenever you find that $50, that's That's your birthday present.
Nice. Like finders keepers.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So he found
he
it.
has to go find it.
No, he found it. But I was like, that's why I was looking for it, because that was your present. So when you find it, it's yours.
It's yours. Nice.
Lucky him.
Awesome.
He's so lucky. Have me.
See, Edward just thinks to himself, so lucky.
Yeah. How did that go when you asked your husband? Tell us that story.
Oh, God. I mean, I ask him that on a regular basis now. Just like, don't you ever think to yourself, gosh, I'm so lucky, or how did I get so lucky? I have to find this. No, he doesn't ask himself.
I don't know why not.
I don't know.
I think you're a gem.
A gem. Just a gem.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, I think that's it.
That's all we got. I don't know what we're talking about next week.
I don't know.
We ran out of endocrine disorders. I mean, not really, but like the ones that anybody cares about.
I don't know.
We'll think about it. We'll see. We'll come up with something super fun. I'll let Crystal pick and surprise me.
That's like right before the video?
Sure. Sure, why not?
How exciting.
I know, but the problem is then you still have to come up with it.
I mean, that's fine. And do I get to pick the song too?
Sure. It's going to be something country.
Not necessarily. We'll see. We'll see what the topic is compared to...
So Crystal will surprise us next week.
Yeah.
And then I won't have any idea what it is until we get here. So that'll be fun.
You're so smart, though, that you know everything anyway, so there's no stumping you. There's no stumping you.
That is not true.
I've only seen you stumped like a handful of times in 300 years.
I mean, it's not really true, but sure. I'm glad you think that.
Well, then you just play it well.
I'm glad that you think that.
I mean, I see you doing some research and stuff at your computer, but most of the time what you're researching, you've already decided that that's what you're going to do anyway. You just want to see if there's a better way of doing it. Or a better option.
Yeah, or new things, you know, new things that happen, or like, yeah, I'm like, oh, this is how we treat this, but I don't remember the exact dosage, things like that. I don't remember all those things all the time. We gotta make room for some stuff up there.
Yeah.
I can't remember everything.
You gotta purge some stuff.
Exactly.
Your head
like
doesn't get
anything
too
to
big.
do with horses, gone.
Yeah, don't ask me about
horses. So don't ask me about horses. That's not fair. It has to be dogs and cats.
Yeah.
They gone.
That's fair. Or birds, exotic, things like that. No.
They gone.
They're gone, girl.
They're gone, girl. All right. Well, we will see you all next week for some kind of surprise topic that Crystal will choose.
How exciting.
Until then, have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll see you then.
How about we just do this? You sign off.
See you later.